This is Sounds Like Sam. Today I'm interviewing my friend and huge 49er fan, Danny Tapp, about all things 49ers football, including how he thought their draft went, who are some rising impact players on the team, whether he thinks they can make the Super Bowl again, and much more. So with that said, let's welcome my host of the day of this show. Hey Danny, how's it going?
It's going pretty good, Sam. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm super excited to talk 49ers football with you.
Me too. I mean, it's one of my favorite things to talk about. I talk about it to anyone who will listen, including my mom, my sister, anyone in my family, way past when they want me to talk about it. So I'm very glad that you invited me here so I can speak freely.
So how did you feel about the 49ers draft, and what draft grade would you give them?
Most of the time, I don't pay attention too much to the draft. Like, I'm not as into it as other guys. But like this year, I got more excited about it because, their first pick in the first round was Javon Kinlaw. Mm-hmm. And I read about like his story and everything. And like, he was truly like he put in the work, like he like came from really humble origins and like seemed like a really genuine guy. So not only is he like a beast on the football field and like going to completely add to the defensive line, like he just seems like a guy that you can root for, which I really appreciate. But like on the football field, like he's going to be a monster. We lost DeForest Buckner to the Colts. And so, like there's a lot of questions about our defensive line, which was so strong last year. Like, is it going to still be as strong? And so I think this was like a real statement move to be like, yeah, we're investing. Like, we pride ourselves in our defense. Lynch, like our GM, was like a defender. Like, he was a defense-oriented guy. So I really respect like the commitment to that. And I really think he's going to like help hold it down, with like, Bosa and Ford on the ends. He has the wisdom of Armstead there. We have a whole like cast of really strong defensive linemen. I think he's going to have like a bunch of veterans to like help him grow, and like with his explosive power, like it's gonna be really good. I was proud of that pick. And then we traded with the Vikings to get up to pick 25, so we could get Brandon Ayuk, and which I appreciate too, because a lot of the problems we were having was with wide receiver. We haven't had that solid guy. 2 years ago, when Garoppolo went down and Kittle really emerged, he emerged because we didn't have any receivers to go to. Like, he was our guy. And then like last year, Sanders came in halfway through and was a huge boost to our offense. But we lost him this past offseason. So I'm really glad that like we got a wide receiver. We have someone to add, especially because Deebo Samuel, I'm pretty sure, is still questionable for this week 1 game against the Cardinals. So good that we like added someone to that receiving core, really build off of that. One of the, I think, downfalls of this draft is that we didn't have another pick until round 5. Like, we didn't have any picks. And like, it was because we like traded up to get Brandon Ayuk, but we had to wait till round 5 to finally get someone else. It was a good choice because we got Colton McKivitz, and he's an offensive lineman, and which is really good. We had a lot of injuries on our offensive line, and it really showed. Like in the game in Levi Stadium against the Seahawks, Jadeveon Clowney was just tearing Garoppolo apart. Like, our offensive line could not hold that guy back. I mean, he's a beast of a player. Like, the guy is amazing, so it makes sense. But I think it also showed, in the Super Bowl, like, if we had a stronger offensive line, that wasn't so battered with injuries and lack of experience, I think it would have helped. So I'm glad that we like got another guy, especially because I think our center, like our starting center, is like hurt right now. So that was a good move. And then like the next pick in round 6 was a tight end, and like I love that because like we already have good tight ends. Like I forgot his name, but we traded for a tight end in the offseason who like was out last season with a concussion, but he's like an All-Pro.
Jordan Reed, right? And apparently Jimmy G's loving him too. So
yeah, which is great because then like we can have 2 tight ends. Like, we have Kittle and Reed like in there at once, and then like no one knows what we're gonna do because we can run, we can throw, like so much versatility. And like Shanahan's such a great offensive mind. So I just love the fact that like our tight end room is just growing, and we're making that like such a strong point of our offense. And then our final pick was Jennings, who's a wide receiver. And just another good, like we didn't have many good, really standout receivers. Like, some guys have really good plays every once in a while, but I think it's just good to add more to the mix to see who will kind of rise as that like go-to receiver.
What would you say that grade would be on that draft?
I think I'd go with a B+ because it was really good. It was solid and everything, but it wasn't, exceptional. I think we were like just, hurt by the fact that we didn't have as many picks. But we did have 2 first-round picks, which is pretty good. So I'm like kind of torn. But overall like solid, like B plus A minus, like around there.
So like an 89%.
Yeah, yeah.
Sweet.
It's like an 89, and if they like talk to me, I'd round it up.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
All right, well that's good to hear. Still having to do with the draft, how do you feel about that Matt Breida being traded to the Miami Dolphins?
Dude, that was crazy because like Breida is I love him. Like he's so fast.
Mhm.
Like that game against the Browns where he scored on the opening play, like ran like 75 yards for a touchdown and everything. That was just, it's so much fun when he gets into like the open space because he flies. The guy is like the fastest guy in the league. Like when he's in the open field, you know, the Chiefs have the fastest, you know, guys, and like they had their nickname. I forget what it was.
Yeah, they have Cheetah and McCole, but Matt Breida is definitely fat. Like he's up there. I think he ran like, I want to say like 22 miles an hour. What he clocked in on that like 75-yarder or something like that.
So like the only thing is that he doesn't have as much like endurance, just in the fact that like if he takes a lot of hits, he gets injured and he like is somewhat prone to fumbling the ball. I'm just kind of like sad to see him go as a fan, just because it's like, oh, like I appreciate you were in that like, you know, carousel of running backs that were just like, you know, running all over the league. So, you know, I wish him the best. Like I hope the Dolphins have like a breakout year, even though I think we may face them.
Yeah.
You know, I wish him all the best.
I think to me it's just them trying to make room for Jerick McKinnon, the guy who's been injured for the past 2 seasons. They acquired him from the Vikings, I think, and he hasn't played one down for them. So he's supposed to be that speedster guy, and that's really the only reason, I guess. Also, I think he was involved in some type of trade to get somebody, but I forget what it was. But I just want to get your opinion about that. So that's good. Yeah, it's good to hear. Moving on to the second question. What are you more excited to watch this season, the offense or the defense for the 49ers?
I'll be more excited to see the offense. Like you said, like McKinnon, it's going to be his first year, like actually with, you know, the whole team. And, you know, when we first traded for him, it was the same offseason we signed Garoppolo to that huge contract. And we were like, the buzz was real. I mean, like the hype as a Niners fan, like I thought, you know, 2 years ago we were going to win the Super Bowl. And then like McKinnon goes down and then Garoppolo goes down. So the fact that he's actually back, it doesn't feel real. I'm like, what is going to happen? Like there's so much excitement and buzz around that. And so I'm really excited to see how Shanahan uses him. Receivers like have so much potential. Like Pettis could have a breakout year. Debo could like rock it up and everything. Like I'm going to see what Ayuk does, the rookie. And also Trent Taylor. Like that guy, when Garoppolo first came from the Patriots back in 2017, like Trent Taylor was the go-to guy on third down because he was like a slot receiver that was so good finding like open spaces. He had great hands. Like he was so exciting. But he was hurt last year. So I didn't really get to see him much. But like I just know that like he's going to be the kind of guy that like keeps us in drives, you know, when the running game might not be working or like everyone's like covering up on like Kittle in the middle of the field. Like, you know, Trent Taylor is that kind of guy that can like extend the like drive and, you know, really get us going. And overall, like Garoppolo, people have been hating on Garoppolo. I think part of it is just jealousy because of his looks. I think some of it is just straight up, they can't handle it. He's great looking. I think everyone who's ever talked about him has acknowledged that fact. You know, he's not afraid. Like on those kind of third down plays, on those like big drives, like he takes a shot. Like even in the Super Bowl when he like hucked it and like missed Sanders, like I still respect him because like the pocket was collapsing. It was 4th down or whatever. And he just, you know, he went for it. He didn't give up. He has the heart. And, you know, he put up great numbers last year. Like he, I think, had the 4th most passing yards of any Niners quarterback in our history in like a single season. So like of all the Montana years and all the young years, like his year stacked against them had the 4th most passing yards, which is, you know, saying a lot. So I think, and that was 1 year, like the first full year as a starting quarterback he ever played. And it was like coming off an ACL tear. Yeah. So I'm excited for the offense this year. I think he's, you know, going to find his groove. I think he's really going to establish himself as a quarterback. And, you know, he has the weapons now to really make a statement in the league.
I agree with that. I am very excited to see all the 49ers players go this year. I think they're going to have to lean a little bit more towards passing this year. I just think they ran it so much last year that to throw maybe defenses off this year, they'll just throw it more. They have the added weapons of Ayuk. Debo's coming back, or hopefully should come back for the first game.
Yeah.
We talked about Trent Taylor, Kendrick Bourne, all those like receivers. They're out there. Then they got Tevin Coleman, Jared McKinnon back in the backfield, Raheem Mostert in the backfield as well. Tons of offensive talent. George Kittle. Speaking of which, how do you feel about him? Do you think he's going to improve from what he did last season?
Yeah, I 100% do, because I remember like in the Super Bowl, like they panned to him, or like they had him mic'd up or whatever, and he said, "Oh, I will be back. I will be back. Like, this is not the last time I'll be here." Like usually he's a joking, laughing kind of guy. And a lot of the guys on our team are kind of that like upbeat, fun energy. But I think just the energy and the play style is just going to be so much more intense this year. I think there's so much to prove. People are still saying like, we're not even going to make it to the Super Bowl. I feel like everyone's internalizing that, and they're just taking notes. So I think Kittle, he's the kind of guy, he can pancake you all day as a blocker. Like, he goes up against guys like Clay Matthews unafraid. And, when it comes to catching the ball, like, he can make one-handed grabs like no one's business. Like, he was ranked number 7 by his peers of all the football players in the league. And I think he's hungry. I think he's more hungry now than he's ever been. And that's dangerous, but it's exciting.
I agree. I fully agree. And, you gotta love the Jimmy G and George Kittle connection. Each other's faces on each other's shirts. That's a classic NFL George Kittle move. It's so fun to watch. One of my favorite parts, team in general, is George Kittle and Jimmy G's relationship. So, all right, well, that was a good answer. Moving on to the third question. Who will be the toughest opponent this season for the 49ers?
This is a hard one, because I feel like a lot of teams are out for blood. We came out of nowhere last year. ESPN, like the one guy said that we were going to go 3-13, and instead we go 13-3. And so I think we made a lot of really good teams look silly. So I think like the Packers hate us because we beat them like twice pretty bad. And like the Seahawks, obviously that goal line stands in week 17, that was insane. So like I think a lot of teams are going to play incredibly hard against us especially, but the team that's going to play the hardest and is going to want the most revenge, I believe, is the New Orleans Saints. We play them week 10. It's the week before our bye. We have to wait till week 11 for our bye. And so starting week 6, we face the Rams. And then week 7, the Patriots. Week 8, the Seahawks. Week 9, the Packers. And then to top it off, week 10, we face the Saints. So it's going to be a gauntlet of great teams who all have reason to want us to lose on a personal level. And it's at their stadium, which is where we beat them last time. I definitely respect the team, but I don't think there's any shaking the fact that he's in the top 3, but I believe our toughest opponent for this season.
I have to fully agree. I think that is going to be their toughest opponent of the season, if not just one of the other divisional games they have to play this year. Seattle, Arizona, or the Rams. It's always fun to watch. It's always going to be competitive with those games. And you were talking about guys like the Packers. That's also going to be tough just because they're going to want revenge. So I really like that answer. And I totally have to agree with you that the Saints are going to come a knocking, and it'll be fun to see what the 49ers do to challenge them again. So very excited for that game. Which 49ers player do you think will be a difference maker that you think nobody really is going to see coming?
There's a potential for a lot of guys, which is exciting. But I really think Trent Taylor is going to be that kind of difference maker on our offense because of his ability to be open on third down and get those extra 6-7 yards. I'm so glad he's back in because, like you said, we have Pettis, who's really good for the deep ball. If he's one-on-one, going for a streak, he's the guy. And Bourne is kind of the go-to guy for touchdowns for whatever reason. When it comes to that kind of difference player, I think Taylor getting those third downs and Bourne getting the touchdowns and then Pettis getting the deep ball. I think all of that is going to take people by surprise. But then on defense, the one guy that kept sticking out to me last year when we would sub guys in, because you can't have the same 4 guys playing every snap. And so there was a guy named DJ Jones, and he was the kind of guy that could just have that extra oomph when we needed it most. When the game's going, it's kind of wearing on the guys. He would come in. He's another guy to kind of step up on our line and get those big time sacks. One last guy actually I want to talk about before wrap up this question is Marcel Harris, which is one of our safeties. I remember in the Ravens game last year, we lost, but still, he had a really good game. I think he was our highest rated defensive player on that game, and he had a forced fumble that we recovered on Lamar Jackson. like Lamar Jackson broke off into like open space. He's the safety, and like he was good enough to not only strip the ball from Lamar, but also like our Niners recovered it. And I remember just thinking to myself, I'm like, who is that guy? Because Lamar is just, especially last year, he was unstoppable. He was a force of nature. Like I thought it was gonna be a touchdown. Like there's no way we're stopping him. And like to get that forced fumble, a couple other forced fumbles last year, and one of them was against the Saints. He has potential because we also, I remember, oh my gosh, I forgot. Like last year, our secondary had a couple of like dropped interceptions in our regular season, and it was just like, if we had caught those, like I wonder what could have happened. And Marcel Harris, like he could be a big time player, and like he's just those kind of like underdogs that you kind of see, and you're like, I wonder if you're the next, big story.
I honestly didn't know two of them, so that's really good. So I like that answer a lot.
Thank you.
Moving on to the fifth and final question. What will the 49ers regular season record be, and do you see them reaching the Super Bowl again this year?
Like I talk to my dad all the time, and I'm the kind of fan that like my instincts is just like 16-0, we're winning the Super Bowl, unstoppable, like we're going to be the best team to ever exist. That part of me is always diehard and like this is going to happen. And then, the rational part of me is like, these are human beings and like they are amazing and great and talented and everything. But like probably really hopeful prediction is 14-2. Like just because I love them so much. But I think that stretch of games where it's, the Rams and the Patriots and the Seahawks and then like the Packers and the Saints, I think just naturally we're going to give up one of those. It's going to be so hard to game plan for each one of those. I think they're going to see our chinks and our different weaknesses. So I think it's inevitable we'll lose one of those. I don't know which one for sure. What might happen is we might lose our first game against the Seahawks, which is at their stadium, which is just a hostile stadium to play in, and then Saints game. But I think if we do lose like those two games, like those first, the Seahawks game in week 7 or 8, and then like the Saints game, and then go into a bye, I think it'll give our guys time to rest and like sit on that, and then like come to the last part of the season just firing away. And I do see us reaching the Super Bowl again this season because it's the revenge tour. This is the year. This is the time we break out. I think also just the narrative is just going to help fuel the fire. Because last year everyone was like, oh, why are they winning? That's not supposed to happen. And like, we did great in spite of it. But, a lot of those guys, it was the first time in the playoffs. So I think they have that experience. They have the mentality and they're hungry. And I just really trust our coaches to have the right game plan in the postseason. Like, I know Shanahan wants the Lombardi trophy. Like, after what happened in Atlanta and after what happened last year, this man wants it. I see us going back. And, it might be a repeat, honestly, because the Chiefs, that game tonight, the Chiefs are – that is a team right there.
I definitely could see them making it again this year. I don't know about you. Besides the Saints, who else do you think could actually – and maybe the Seahawks, do you see anybody else that can maybe compete with them in the NFC Championship game?
Wait, Buccaneers.
That's true, yeah.
Oh, my gosh. Like, what? Oh, my gosh. Wait, Brady and Garoppolo could face off.
Oh, yeah, that could be a good game.
Yeah, like in the championship game? Oh, my gosh.
I will say, usually defenses win. As good as the Buccaneers defense is, I think the 49ers defense is way beyond that. And Jimmy G already knows what Tom Brady does all the time. So to me, that, and with Kyle Shanahan's offensive scheming and just the knowledge from Jimmy G, that could be like, I don't want to say an easy win, but I think that would be like a good scenario for them, that if they wanted to win a game, like that would probably be not a bad game to have, even though it's right now it seems like the super team of all offenses, like as we saw the Seahawks versus the Broncos.
Oh, wait, yeah, and the Seahawks just
their defense just dominated the Broncos offense. So I'm assuming that would kind of happen with the 49, even though it's not the same parameters, but I feel like you can get my drift. The defense of the 49ers, I think, is just so much better and more talented, especially in their secondary, and their defensive line too. I think that could be another team that could get them, that could be a good matchup. But I think if it did happen, personally, the 49ers would probably come out on top. But that's just me. I'm not even a 49er fan. I know you are, but how do you feel about that situation?
Well, I think that would be, honestly, as a football fan, a dream come true. Just because of like just the story of it. I mean, Brady goes down to like the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers are like a team who last year, they were struggling with famous Jameis and, his 30 interceptions.
30 for 30.
Yeah, if they like rose up and, really were a contender and met, if Brady met his backup in the NFC Championship, I think that would just be such a good game. I really think it'd be such an opportunity too for our defense to show like who they are, like you're saying. And like, good for crediting our secondary because our secondary was like so good last year. I think that would just be honestly such a fun game to watch as a fan.
Going back to your point about Kyle Shanahan being so close to winning a Super Bowl, I think you're totally right in the fact that he is so hungry. He's probably just on it all the time, all day, every day, just trying to find like just those little stepping stools to take him to that Super Bowl. And if it was a year, I wouldn't be surprised if it was this year. They really have a lot going for him, and I really like their chances this year. So that was my last formal question for you. Do you have anything else you want to add?
I mean, so much. I love this team. I'm so proud of them for what they did last year. I know we came up short, and I was like, I was heartbroken. I was upset. But looking back on it, with some time removed, like I'm just so proud of them from going, 1 year being 4-12. And then the next year making it to the Super Bowl. I mean, just, it's a little kid's dream to watch your team succeed. And like, even now, I mean, it's so much more fun and just, I don't know, it's just, especially, with everything going on right now, it's like nice to have this to look forward to, talk to my dad today about, the Niners and, there's just so much to look forward to with the Niners. And I'm like, so grateful for that. I can't wait to see them win and find new ways to win. It felt like every game last year they found a new way to win. And like this team just has heart, it has character, it has personality. It's just fun to watch. And I'm just so glad I'm a Niners fan.
And I'm an LSU fan, and I know Quan's on that team. He didn't really do much last year, so I'm really hoping for a big season from him this year. Can't wait to see him in the 49er uniform with his red flamboyant hair and going at it and being a beast. So I'm ready to see that happen.
Yeah, no, he's awesome too. Definitely love his hair.
Definitely. Hey, thanks, Danny, so much for doing this. I really appreciate it. I had a great time talking 49ers football with you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, man. I appreciate it. Love the pod. Like, you're doing great.
Thank you. Thanks again for listening. If you have any questions or comments about this topic, feel free to contact me on my Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram account at Bullseye Fantasy. Also, don't forget to subscribe to my blog, the link is in my Twitter bio, and to rate and share this podcast. Again, those accounts you should follow are at Bullseye Fantasy for Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Peace.